Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Currie Sivek. I'm the Senior Data Science Journalist for Alteryx, and I'm very excited to be here today to share with you a little bit of my experience in writing blog posts and hopefully some tips that will be helpful for you as you head out into the world of writing technical blog posts to showcase your expertise and your skills. So here's a little outline of what we'll talk about here. First of all, a little motivation for why you should undertake this on top of all the other things you already have to do. I'll give you a process to help you get started and get past that terrible blank page. We'll talk about the mechanics of writing online, which is not something that most of us have been taught to do. We've written papers and things like that in school, but not necessarily actually written for an online format specifically in a polished way. So we'll talk about that a bit. And then finally, we'll talk about sharing your work, which you really do need to do because that's kind of the whole idea. So I'll give you some tips on how you might want to do that. So this is me. I am a former academic. I used to be a journalism professor, teaching people about writing for over a decade. That's me on the left with the funny puffy hat. Now I work from home. I moved into the tech industry and I get to hang out with this pup all day and write about data science topics for Alteryx. I also produce other content related to data science, and I host our Data Science Mixer podcast. So really fun variety of producing technical content. Here are a couple of blog posts I was able to do recently. Sometimes I'm using a data set to demonstrate some sort of analysis. For example, using topic modeling to look at government data on how people hurt themselves in weird ways over the holidays. So that was a fun post to research. And then one of my sillier, but really fun posts and hopefully still useful is the one on the right, which is about interviewing p-value, also known as p-value, which is our way of assessing statistical significance. So have a lot of fun with writing about technical stuff, and I hope that you will too. But first, the most terrifying part of writing anything, really. The blank page as it looks back at you and you look at it and you try to figure out what to do with it. So I'm hopefully going to give you some techniques here that will help you deal with that stress. First of all, a little motivation. Why should you go ahead and blog? It's a great way to showcase your skills and your expertise and also share a little bit of your personal style. This is a great way to show off all the things that you have worked so hard to learn and get other people to enjoy learning about them as well. Blogging also demonstrates your leadership and your ability to think in innovative ways. It can bring positive attention to your employer by showing off the neat things that their employees get to do, so that's a good thing. And really, once you write about something, you will understand it and have a much clearer sense of it than you do through any other method, really. They always talk about the best way to learn something is to have to teach it to somebody else. Writing is another really powerful way to learn something deeply in ways you may not have had to before. So how do you get started? How do you know what to write about? This is probably a somewhat familiar process, but just to put it in our context here, brainstorm all the ideas. Put down all the ideas, all the ones that even seem silly or maybe even seem a little too hard. They might seem like a stretch. Put them all down. Don't rule out anything right away. Then narrow down that list. What's most intriguing? What are you most excited to share? Which of these really best fits your goals right now for what you're trying to achieve in your career, in your life, in your personal development? Think about those kinds of things as you narrow down the list. Then you do have to choose one and you do have to commit. And I say commit here because sometimes you might start writing, you might start looking at that blank page and think, oh, this is going to be too much. You write a paragraph, it's terrible, you want to pick something else. Don't. At least give that topic a good, strong effort. You can do it, okay? It's always rocky at first, but it gets better. Before you actually start writing about the topic you've chosen, I would suggest that you also specifically write 3 things before you get going. First of all, what's your chosen topic? Put down as specifically and concisely as possible what you're going to write about. If you feel like at some point maybe you're going a little bit off course, you can come back to that as your guiding star. What's your goal in writing this? As I said, this can be challenging. It might get tough at some point. So why are you motivated to do this? What's the whole goal for you of completing this project? And then finally, what's your goal for the audience? What do you want the audience to achieve, to know, to be able to do after they read your post? And again, this might help you guide your decision-making as you think about, should I use this example? Should I include this text? What's the best thing for me to do here? This is really your main consideration. What does your audience need to get out of this post? That will make it successful. And then the good old writing process. This may look pretty familiar from writing projects you've done in the past in school and so forth. What I want to emphasize here is that this is not a linear process. This is a recursive process, right? You go from researching to writing. You realize, oh, I need to know more about this thing. You go back to researching. You write a little more. You edit a little bit. You realize, I need another paragraph to explain this other thing. So you write a little bit more. Then you think, this really could use an infographic or an image or a chunk of data or a piece of code that I can use to demonstrate this. So you need to come up with those augmentations. That's how I'm lumping all those things together here, that will supplement your writing. And then you think, well, actually to explain this example that I just created, I need to write a little bit more, right? So this goes back and forth, around and around, and that's totally fine. That is a perfectly normal writing process, and you definitely want to engage in all those steps of the process here. So now, this is sort of the big secret here, which is really not a secret at all. This is kind of a formula, and this is something that is taught in basic journalism classes all the time for how you might think about structuring your post. There's still a lot of creative leeway here, and there's one part that's actually kind of totally vague, so I'll try to guide you as best I can there. But these are basically the pieces that journalists will spend some of the time on as they're planning out their work. So first of all, the lead. In a journalism class, in a basic introductory journalism class, we would spend weeks just talking about leads. This is your first paragraph, maybe 2 short paragraphs. This is where you really want to grab the reader. Maybe you want to give an anecdote, an example, a use case that explains why doing this particular thing is so useful or impactful or important. This is where you really want to get the reader going. We all know how hard it can be these days to read something that's a bit longer and more complex when we're reading online or on our phones. You've got to get the reader in early and get them in deep and get them committed to reading your post here. Otherwise, there's not really a point. All the rest of the work on the rest of the piece is not going to pay off. So make sure you spend some time here thinking about the best way to get people going on the piece. Now, keep in mind too, if you try to really emphasize this lead as you start writing, like, oh, I got to make this lead really good. She said it has to be really, really good. You're going to put way too much pressure on yourself. Sometimes it's easier to start later in the piece and work on later pieces. And eventually some really good idea for that lead will come back to you later. I will often, if I don't have something immediately in mind for the lead, I'll often just start with the next couple of pieces and come back to the lead later. Again, totally fine and reasonable way to go about this. The second chunk here that I want to talk about is the nut graph, which is, again, it's kind of one of these weird journalistic terms. You can think of this as your story in a nutshell. The goal here is to connect the lead, which sometimes could be something very specific, like an anecdote or a story, to the larger main point and purpose of the post. Okay, here you want to motivate the reader to continue. You've already grabbed them, you've got them interested. Now let's tell them what we're going to tell them and tell them why they need to keep on going. What's the motivation to read the rest? The body of your piece, then, you want to organize into short chunks. Okay, use headings, use bullets. We'll talk more about that in a moment. You want it to be easy to skim and easy for people to look through. Okay, if they just want to really read one piece of it, they're going to do that. So you may as well make it easier for them, right? Help them continue through the piece and find the pieces that are most interesting for them. And then finally, the kicker, right? The bit at the end, ideally something punchy that doesn't just repeat your subject. Here we want something that provides some closure, but we don't want to just do the same thing that you might have learned in school at some point, unfortunately, like tell them what you just told them, repeat your introduction. Don't do that. Just try to have a nice closing that wraps things up without being repetitive. You may also want a call to action here. For example, if you're interested in learning more, here are some other articles that I would recommend. Or if you have questions about this, feel free to reach out to me. Or please share this with your network on Twitter. Also okay to ask for that. So a couple of quick notes on style and substance as you're writing here. Use your own voice, be conversational, have fun with it. Nobody's here to read the Encyclopedia Britannica entry on your topic, right? They want to read a blog post. Blogs are meant to be enjoyable. So be yourself, have fun with it. Be patient with yourself. Everybody's drafts are terrible at first, okay? I can't tell you how many times I've started something and just thought, oh, this is awful. It's okay. So be gentle with yourself. Think about, I'm not editing now, I'm not judging this, I'm just writing. And then later you can come back and be the editor, but just write at first. Have a sense of authority, be confident in what you know, and feel like, yes, I can be an expert here. It's okay. I have time to work on this. I can make it just right. I can check all my information. Embrace that sense of authority. And then finally, make sure that your topic and your flow of information goes through logically. You may want to test it on a friend, particularly a friend who's maybe not as expert in this area as you are. A few other items here related to formatting your posts. If you include links, which you probably will want to, as either citations for information that you provide or suggestions for further reading, the best practice here is typically to put those links on 3 to 5 words at most, okay, not entire sentences. So put those links in there. If you include code, try to use any options that you might have in your content publication system for code blocks so that that can be correctly formatted and much more legible. If you are including bulleted information or headings, those are super helpful again to the reader to skim quickly, find the information that they're most interested in. If you have images, make sure that you, well, first of all, make sure that you use images, right? People expect visual information at this point when they're reading things online. Make sure that those images are actually legible when they show up on a mobile device, right? We think about these things maybe in building products and so forth, but maybe not so much when we're doing blogging. So be sure that that stuff is all usable, no matter what device people are reading your work on. And then finally, paragraphs. We all know about the infamous wall of text, right? Don't do that to your reader. It is okay to have paragraphs that are 1 sentence, 2 to 3 sentences, totally fine. Anytime you move to a new idea, start a new paragraph. It's probably the main thing that I told students to do over the years was new paragraph, new paragraph. Break up the thoughts to make it easier for the reader. Then finally, sharing. Where do you put this and what do you do with it? First of all, you need to choose a platform where you're going to share your work. If you're not using a site maybe that your employer has, which I am fortunate to do, you have other options. There's Medium, there's GitHub pages, maybe your own site. And I would love to hear from you in the chat about what some of your favorites are for publishing your own work. And then you have to publicize it. And this is one of those things that can feel so weird and so self-promotional, but that was probably part of your goal in creating this work, was being able to share it with other people. So get out there and share it. Put it on your social channels, ask other people to share it, use hashtags, post it in the groups that you're part of. You deserve that audience. You have worked hard on this and it's time to get it out there. And I can't tell you how rewarding it is to see when people have actually shared it, read it, you get those analytics and you can look and see, oh, wow, people actually read my work. It's very rewarding. So let yourself do that, get it out there. Obviously, different social media platforms offer you that opportunity to share your work. LinkedIn is probably the obvious one for many of us. And since that's more of a professionally oriented platform, you would want to use a fairly professional tone there. There are hashtags on LinkedIn, and I would recommend that you use those because people can follow specific hashtags to get the particular kind of information that they're interested in. So definitely put those in there as appropriate to your topic. On Twitter, Twitter can be wild, but it is a good place, again, to share your work. So try to make it catchy, try to make it stand out in a positive way. Maybe use a photo or a GIF, something that just makes it a little bit more interesting to the person who is seeing thousands of tweets flow by. And then Slack, right? You may be a member of different Slack communities where you can share your work. So take advantage of that possibility too. Be sure that you put it in the right channel and you abide by any rules that there might be about self-promotional kinds of posts. But it's definitely another possibility for sharing the work to a relevant audience. And then finally, just a few bonus thoughts here on the publication process. I know very well that imposter syndrome can kind of get in the way of writing a post and sharing your knowledge and expertise, but try to set it aside. I know that's really not super deep advice, but just try to believe in yourself that you have that knowledge, it is worth sharing, and you can help other people, and you deserve to have that expertise shared with others. So get yourself out there. I know another common fear, particularly publishing online and maybe sharing on social media, is there are mean people out there and they might say mean things or they might ask rude questions. They might, those people certainly exist. That stuff absolutely happens and it's awful. But the odds are that they won't do that to you. And if they do, don't feed the trolls, right? Just ignore them, delete the comments. This is your work. If it's on your blog post, it's kind of like people coming on your property. You can determine what happens with those. Just try not to worry too much about this because the odds are low that that will happen. In all my years of publishing blog posts across different media, publishing in academia, giving presentations in academia, I never had anybody say anything truly horrible. I mean, there were a few comments that could have been more diplomatic, but for the most part, people want to be positive and supportive, and hopefully you have found communities that provide that. And then there are folks who will just say, well, I'm just not a writer. Well, you know what? We all write all the time, all the things that we write in chats and texts and emails. This is just another format, and it feels weird at first, but it does get more familiar with time. You just have to, again, be gentle with yourself, practice, and know that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And so I hope you will go forth and publish your work, share your expertise, showcase your skills. It's totally worth the effort, and I'm really excited to see what you produce. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. There's my contact information, and best of luck to you.